Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown post-game show. Today I'm bringing on James Holas of B-Ball Breakdown to talk a little bit about the OKC Thunder visiting the Golden State Warriors. And James, it wasn't much of a game kind of early. What are your initial thoughts overall?
It kind of went the way I kind of thought it was. I mean, Golden State's a superior team, almost up and down the roster. They got so much firepower. The adrenaline carried OKC early, but they're right off a back-to-back. They played a tough win against the Clippers the night before. This should have kind of been expected. And I said earlier on social media that Russ was either going to have a great game or a terrible game. I think he had a mediocre game. He wasn't well. It was pretty bad. So it is what it is. They were tired. They were overmatched. They fought gamely for about the first 15, 20 minutes, and it is what it is.
Yeah, I thought that, and I had said it even earlier today on Twitter that it was just a shame that they did this scheduling. And people kind of wanted to poo-poo that and say, well, it's only the fourth game of the season, so why a back-to-back? It should be an issue. But I don't think it matters when it happens. A back-to-back on the road after a really tough, grueling game against the Clippers is never going to be an easy thing for any team. And I don't even think it's an excuse. It just seems to me like it's math. It simply is. We've seen this. I don't know, every team does it 10, 15 times a season. And we almost always see, in that third quarter, they just kind of conk out. The home team goes on a run, and that's it. And so the issue for me was okay, so I thought it was the third quarter, and it actually ended up happening in the second
Quarter, yeah.
Once the Warriors got going. Did you notice that, I'm doing a video for tomorrow too, but Klay Thompson was shooting I think less than 11% from three-point range coming in this game. Mm-hmm. And did you notice that? Did you see anything different about why he started making these shots tonight?
I did notice that, and I think the big thing is they're getting used to a high usage, big part of their team. Kevin Durant's he's a luxury automobile. He's not gonna. Everyone says it's gonna be a seamless fit, and maybe personality wise, but it takes a lot. So him and Dre have been shooting pretty bad, and kind of struggling with finding their rhythm. I think tonight emotions were high for both teams, no matter what they said. And I think Klay found his rhythm. He's kind of an emotional player, and that's gonna be good and bad. And I think he rode the emotion tonight.
Yeah, I did feel like, and I tweeted this out, it was that some of the shots they gave Klay were such bad defense, it was almost like they were trying to get him on track. And that said, he was missing a lot of those shots in the last 3 or 4 games at the start of the season anyway. But I guess the other argument is eventually he's going to do that. And I was frustrated. I thought the one thing I thought X's and O's wise that I was troubled with on the defensive end, because again, they were probably going to run out of steam at some point anyway, but at least the defensive principles should be there. And they kept trying to shoot the gap over the top of the pin down screens. And the cutter, Klay or Steph or whoever, would just take a step back farther away from them. They'd throw it over and they'd be wide open and either could break them down off the dribble or just shoot it. And I don't know. I was troubled because I'm going to have to study some more film on the Thunder, because if that's what they plan to do to defend shooters coming off screens, they're going to have a hard time all year.
I think it may be a lot like last year. It took Billy Donovan time to really teach his guys and get them on the same page defensively. We saw OKC had a lot of issues last year, the same kind of issues, and then playoff time came around, and all of a sudden they were a well-oiled machine. It takes time, I guess, to instill rock solid defensive principles, and a lot of these guys and a lot of new faces, some rookies, some young guys, Oladipo, coaches. So I think Donovan's in for the long haul for this season, and he's going to have a lot of teaching to do, and while trying to win games. So he has a tall order in front of him.
Yeah, it's kind of almost unfair because he spent that whole time all last year just trying to get his fingerprints on that team, and it looked like he pretty much did. Certainly you couldn't argue the results against the Spurs, and then they had them. They had the Warriors at the end there. So, and then he's going to start all over again. And by the way, the Warriors are kind of in that same boat as well. They have a lot of new players, and they had to deal with that too. So, I think that maybe we're starting to see some stuff here. Were you surprised that the Thunder hadn't lost a game coming into this game?
I mean, you can't really be surprised. They beat some low-level talent, right? They beat Philly, and the Suns show a lot of gumption, but they're not. They're just OKC's the better team. And then the Clippers game, I think, was a really good win for OKC. But let's be real. They have an uphill battle a lot of nights against teams that are just more talented and more together. Right now, they're not. And Russ is going to have to try to find that balance between when to attack and when to be a playmaker. And you can see sometimes his patience gets a little frazzled. I said this yesterday. It's kind of like watching Bruce Banner trying not to become the Hulk because you can see him. But then like last night against the Clippers, he had a couple bad threes that's out of nowhere just sprung up, and then he had the great game-winning shot, nice and on balance. So it's funny to see him, and it's fascinating to watch him all season.
Yeah, and it was funny because people were freaking out at me tonight on Twitter as well. I'm showing some clips, and it's just like chances are if it's a blowout and then one team is playing really well, chances are a lot of the video clips that I might show will probably end up being very positive for the Warriors because that's all we're seeing, and maybe negative for the Thunder. And so I found it kind of funny because a lot of the Russ fans were coming at me and screaming, and it's like I don't know, I will marvel at what he does. He certainly can do things that nobody else can do on the court. They're amazing. And then they get balanced. We can't argue that it's half and half. There's definitely more good things, but it gets to be a juggling act there with some of the things he does that are just head scratching. You're like someone wanted to give him an excuse for like when he doesn't get a call and he just grabs the guy in the backcourt and just takes a foul. I don't get that. Can you explain that to me?
So me and you bumped heads on this a couple times. I think you're a little harder on Russ than you would be on most players. And you're a little more lenient on some players than you would be on Russ. But it's fine. But no, he does. He does some things like you just said. I've seen him do it. Are you that frustrated where you just got to commit a foul right back? Some of the threes are just mind bending because there's no way you should be shooting 7 or 8 threes in a game when you're shooting as poorly as he does. But I think the positives far outweigh the negatives, obviously, from the success the team's had all these years and so far this year. Sure, he had some ugly numbers when he took 44 shots, but they won the ball game. It's about trying to come out with a W, and he had 10 turnovers against the Clippers. But when it comes down to it, they beat the Clippers, and Clippers are a superior team. But yes, the fouls in the backcourt, they're pretty silly, and the threes are kind of silly, and he's still trying to figure out when to attack and when to get his teammates involved. And I think he needs to be more active off ball. There's a couple things that he can do, and that's one of them. So, it's a work in progress in OKC.
And I do see a little bit of that. Donovan's offense usually is predicated with the ball handler bringing it up and then passing it and then getting movement. And I do see that a little bit. And I have to tell you, the starting five for the Thunder, when you look at, there's no shooting at all. And there's no real scores outside of Russ. I guess Oladipo will eventually, hopefully, become that. And Adams, has some nice stuff every once in a while, but he definitely has to feed off of a Russ created opportunity for him. So I think for this year, I honestly don't feel like I'm going to be as have such a critical eye on him simply because of what you're saying. There isn't much. This is the year where I now see that there isn't much for him to, for anybody else to score. It's going to have to be him doing it. It's going to have to be him. His usage is 50. What is it? That's some insane number now. Is it high 40s?
It's probably in the mid to high 40s. It's pretty high probably. He's out there. He's either shooting or he's turning it over. It seems like so. Without a Durant on the team, without even an Ibaka who was could shoot and score a little bit. I will not even. I'll definitely be a lot more patient at this point. But remember, the reason why I am rough on him, I suppose is the word, is a coach and the point guard. Those are very. Those are sort of the similar positions one on the floor, one on the bench. And, if you're going to do and the threes drive me, the threes are the big thing that drive me crazy as well. It's just the decision making is really where it gets, frustrating because it's such high volume of decision making. And nobody else is doing using as many possessions as he does. But then again, so I want to make it clear to you and everybody else out there that, there's no question. You're going to look at this team. He needs to do that. There's no other choice. And I just hope he doesn't disappear into a pool of, dust or something by the end of the year. I can't wait, Coach. I'm going to take this podcast and download that audio, what you just said, and play it back to myself. I'm feeling kind of down. That's the nicest thing you ever said about Russ. One thing I would like to see them do. You guys remember? Of course, you remember this. Chicago back in the day. First couple possessions, they'd come down and feed Bill Cartwright or Luke Longley and try to get him going. Same thing that they did it with Bogut and Golden State the last couple of years. I'd like to see them come down and really try to get Steven Adams involved early in the ball game. He's a really good player. He's nice touch around the rim. They got to give him some touches early to get his head involved in the ball game. Yeah, and Oladipo has to be more aggressive and aggressive with a purpose, not just throwing himself willy nilly down the court into the thicket of defenders. He needs to be more aggressive and he needs to look to be a better playmaker. I think he's averaging less than or two, right, 1 or 2 assists a game right now. He needs to take some of that pressure off of Russ because I think he had 1 year in Orlando. He averaged 17, 4, and 4. So the guy has a lot of all-around talent. I think right now he's kind of feeling his way out, and he's maybe playing a little bit too much of the beta to Russ's alpha. I think he needs to try to assert himself a little bit more on the court.
You know, it looks to me like Oladipo has no idea how to play in this kind of intensity. With Russ, who's going to make these games more intense than he's ever been faced before, right? And now, and he's, there's still the Thunder. There's still something there. There's still a bit of an aura there. And so that's what it looks like to me, where he's just sort of like, not like a rookie, because he's obviously played a number of years, but he definitely looks very fresh out there and indecisive, and that will hopefully change as we move along. I mean, we do seem to think that I think Billy Donovan can develop talent as well. He can get in there, work with these guys individually, and show them a little bit better. Like, okay, here's where you can attack on this part of our offense, and here's where you can attack here. You should be, catching and ripping right away. And I feel like that might take a little bit longer, but I would imagine Oladipo will probably get closer to that 17, 4, and 4 numbers he had in Orlando.
Another big thing that might have been on Oladipo's mind, now he has his contract, I'm thinking maybe in the next few games we see him start playing a little better because that kind of thing can weigh on a player, right? He was going to free agency next summer. He didn't know exactly, who's going to give him the offers, who's going to stay in OKC. So I think now having that contract might give him a little more comfort and allow him to at least play a little freer. Let's hope so. Or the weight of that contract, because they give him a good bit of money. He's making, $20 million a year. The weight of that contract could, have him forcing things. So it's a really remarkable situation we're seeing there. Yeah. But like you just said, we got it. OKC has a huge reservoir of kind of benefit of the doubt because they just lost the second best player in the league.
What did I miss about Enes Kanter? Why did he only play 3 minutes?
You know what? I wish I could answer that. And we're gonna have to look into it. I don't know. He came in early. He shot a couple air balls. He didn't look very good. And I'm pretty sure the story's out there right now. So we didn't do our due diligence, or I didn't do my due diligence before I came on the show with you. But it's bizarre because you would think now without Bogut out there and with against Zaza Pachulia, they would have had a pretty good rate of success with him playing some center, a little more center out there as far as the score. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, what we did see was, we saw Kevin Durant detonate all over the Thunder. We saw Enes Kanter talking trash to him during the game and possibly getting him fired up. And, I mean, like if I had to think about things, maybe I'd say, Donovan's like maybe punishing him because he was doing that and he shouldn't have been. I don't know. I mean, you even saw Adams like tap him on the knee. To me, I got that as like, dude. Chill, stop. Because, and by the way, it's funny because I'm not sure if I would think that Durant would be the one guy who, I could see that being okay. Let's get him off his game by talking trash to him from the bench. But man, it didn't work tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think Kanter meant well. Obviously, right? He wants to take it for his teammate and his team, but sometimes they say don't poke the bear, and they poked the bear tonight, and the bear kind of devoured the OKC Thunder.
Yeah, and again, the entire context of this isn't really fair because it's the second of a back-to-back. And by the way, if they played the Lakers before last night, then that's a whole different story as well, most likely. So it's a lot of things going on with the subplots here. What is your take on, while we're here for a few minutes, the reason why did Kevin Durant leave OKC?
I think it's just kind of what he said. I mean, players are different between the ages of 19 and, he's 27, 28 now. He's changed a lot. And maybe he really did kind of want to see what he wanted. I read the Rolling Stone article and it sounds, what can you say? He always said he wanted to, hey, I want to retire as an OKC Thunder player. But in that article, Rolling Stone, he says that, he's done everything in his life up until now for other people. He was a pleaser, trying to please OKC, trying to please his family. So this was something he wanted to do. And hey, we all see Westbrook. Is it a stretch to say that maybe Kevin Durant's personality made it tough for him to play with Russell Westbrook? It's not a stretch to say that. Is that a bad thing? No, it's not. I have the lasting image of Kevin Durant sitting with his back to Russell Westbrook shooting those free throws in the playoffs. That's just the kind of guy he is. So it's that also, hey, he said it. We kept getting younger while everybody else was getting better. Ownership has to take some of the blame there.
Yeah, listen, I don't think I'd argue with anybody that if he had stayed coming back, they could have very well been favored and certainly been right there to compete with these guys, especially after you saw what happened in the finals. So, it's interesting, but and there has to be a lot of subtext here, or even it's not that sub anymore as far as what it means to play with Russ and then get away from Russ, perhaps. And they keep going back and forth in the news trying to stir it up, which is also painful. It's painful to hear Russell Westbrook continually being asked that same question and trying to get any kind of controversial thing out of it. It's frustrating for me because and it's not even like I'm a big Russ fan, but it's just it kind of borders on unprofessional at some point when you keep doing that and it's clear and everybody knows why you're doing it. But I do say that it looks like Durant is going to flourish, I think, in what the Golden State is running. And so if that's what he was looking at, saying, okay, independent of the Russ situation, if he was like, wow, I'm going to be able to move off ball, I'm going to get a lot of pin downs, we're going to get a lot of free flowing stuff and easy shots, then great. That looks like what they're getting. And certainly I feel like even in the transition threes, did he get that many in OKC? Because it doesn't feel that way watching him get them tonight.
He didn't because, again, they knew he would pretty much only shoot on the floor. So once he crossed half court, he had a guy in his shorts. Now, Golden State has guys scrambling, right? It's pretty hard to it's amazing that the little behind the back pass from Steph to him, he was basically wide open with a guy running at him. And it's scary to see him in that environment. And so, it's a decision he made, and it's for his benefit right now. Obviously, there's a lot less pressure on him, and there's pressure on the team. And I think that's kind of what he wanted.
Well, so here, what do we think here as we wrap up? Let's see. Are the Thunder going to make the playoffs?
I still think they're going to make the playoffs. I think this is a good maybe awakening for them because that 4-0 had them riding kind of high. But they're not an upper echelon team. They see they have a lot to work on. I still think they're going to make the playoffs as a middling seed for somewhere 4 to 6. I think so. Because
I think the Jazz are going to make it, which means someone's got to drop out. And it looks to me like Dallas might be that team that's going to drop off the way they're starting. And you know what? You start 0-4 and then 2-10. That's it. I don't think that you're making the playoffs if you start that poorly in the West. Memphis might even be a team that looks like they're struggling too.
Yeah, I'm shocked that the Dallas's starting lineup has been as bad as it's been. Their offense looks horrible right now, and maybe this is the year that finally it caught up to Dirk. Dirk's been almost ageless, and you can only cobble together offense with Band-Aids and rubber bands for so long, and that's what they've been trying to do. So, hey, you gave Harrison Barnes $94 million.
Right. Well, by the way, Barnes has shown flashes of something there, so maybe he'll figure something out. But it might be for a bad team. The Warriors, I don't know if they're playing at championship level. I think it's pretty safe to say that they're not there, right? Do you see them getting to any kind of level where they could get back to the finals?
I definitely do. It's almost anticlimactic. I think the East is Cleveland's and the West is going to be Golden State's. Right now, they're not even they're not playing that well, and they have one loss, and they just blew a team out by almost 30. That's a quality team, and I think once they all get in their rhythm and they all get familiar with each other, rim protection is going to be a question, obviously, and then I think just the defense in general from the bench. But Ian Clark looks special right now. I think he's going to be a real good spark plug. They're so talented, man. You know more than anybody. I've watched. Your breakdowns can be found about them and their players. They're special. They're a bunch of good players. So.
The thing I find encouraging about it is because the concern is going to be KD playing the 4 when they want to go small ball, and he's been getting some tough rebounds. He's been going. He does shy away from contact as well, but there are. I can remember 2 or 3 in my mind's eye right now of him just getting down there. There's a lot of guys around. He's just rising up and grabbing it. And then the beauty of that is he can just go. I love it when a big guy grabs the ball, can just take off and let the guards fill the wings. So that's what gets really scary. And you know what? If they can't be a lockdown defensive team like they were with Bogut and everybody else last year, then all right, they'll win 122 to 115, I guess, right? I guess that's the only solution for them.
Right, and the only question is how they're going to match up with Cleveland. Because otherwise, I think every other team, no other team can match that firepower, right? And even Cleveland really can't match the offensive firepower. Maybe Cleveland defensively can do some things to slow them down a bit. So I hate to say a foregone conclusion because things happen. We both know injuries and who knows what can happen. But as of right now, when healthy, both those teams are head and shoulders above everyone else in the league.
there's no way that LeBron can avoid guarding KD, right? He's going to have to guard him the way it looks like.
Yeah, I don't see. There's no one. They put Shump on him. He's gonna just shoot over the top. And Shump's not strong enough. There's nobody else. It'll be nice to see. And I guess I hope that maybe they'll try to put Dre on LeBron, right? But it's gonna be a barn burner.
Oh yeah, and we've seen LeBron have tremendous success against KD in the past anyway. So, but this is a different year and a different era for both these players in a way that I would really like to see LeBron really have to guard somebody consistently in a playoff series where that will make him work. I just can't think about it. It's been a while since he was guarding Derrick Rose as a point guard guy in the conference finals. So we'll have to wait and see.
Hey, coach, they say it, man. Father Time is undefeated, and LeBron James is still up on Father Time by a good bit. But I mean, Father Time's not going to go down, so we're going to see this tiniest bit of slippage from Bron sooner or later.
Well, I'd say this: Father Time's catching up to me right now because it's getting late here, and we'll get this post game show out ASAP. So, James Snotty, thanks for coming on the show and breaking it down for us.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Coach. Looking forward to coming on again.
You got it. And don't forget, sports fans, at BBallBreakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, James?
For sure, Coach.